And let's start directly into the powertrain lineup. So this slide has already been presented to you this morning, but just for a reminder, the first thing is that we're going to continue our love story with LPG, with the Ecology 100, an engine that you already know in the other Dacia, but we're going to keep it in the new Duster, and I'm going to explain you why. After that, for the first time on the Duster, we're going to have a full hybrid with the Hybrid 140. This engine is already in the Jogger, but for the first time at Dacia this time, we will have a 48-volt mild hybrid technology, both in 4x2 and in 4x4 with the TC 130. But let's deep dive into some facts and figures, starting with the B-fuel solution that we have at Dacia, the LPG with the Ecology 100. So I said just a minute ago that we have a love story with LPG, and some of these figures can tell you that it's a love story. First, Dacia is an undisputed leader of the European market for the LPG, with 60% market share last year. So of course that is very important for us, meaning that 1 out of 3 Dacia is an LPG. So it's important for us, it was, it is, and it will be with the next Duster and the old engines. We sold more than 600,000 cars in LPG since the beginning of this solution, just to give you also a rough idea about the volumes. But what lies behind the success? First, that's obvious, that the cost of the fuel, because LPG is 50% cheaper than petrol, despite the recent fuel crisis. And it's also more CO2 efficient. We said minus 10% of CO2 emission versus a petrol engine, minus 90% fine particle emission versus a petrol engine. So cost efficient, eco efficient. On the all new Duster, that will be the powertrain with the most autonomy, the largest autonomy, 1,300 kilometers roughly. It's not homologated yet, but those kind of figures should remain after the homologation. And it's thanks to this double tank. 50 liters useful capacity for the LPG, 50 liter useful capacity also for the petrol. But thanks to the CMFB platform, we are now allowed to electrify our Duster. And we're going to do it in 2 steps, which we are thinking are complementary. One being the 48-volt mild hybrid, and one being the full hybrid. If we have to retain something, that's very easy. We are doing it for CO2 efficiency and for fuel consumption. Let's have a look to the more in detail to the engine, starting with the new at Dacia, the TC 130, which is the 48-volt mild hybrid. So first, that's a new family of engine that we're going to introduce with the all-new Duster. Is made to last. It will be compatible with the future regulation like Euro 7, even if we are not sure about the exact date of the Euro 7 yet, but still this engine will remain in the range. That's a proven technology. At Dacia we'll use proven technology. That's the engine that equips the Renault Austral today, and the first mild hybrid in Renault Group was on a Scenic on 2018. CO2 efficiency, once again, minus 10% CO2 efficient versus a comparable engine without the electrification. And that's fitted for new Duster. I think that's important. That will be the base for 4x4 version. So all the transmission is the same and the same system that in current Duster, but we change the engine to have this one fitted with the 4x4 transmission. Some key figures. That's a 1.2 liters, 3 cylinders turbocharged, which develops 130 horsepower, 230 newtons meter of torque, and obviously with the, let's say, smallest battery, that's cheaper than a full hybrid, while it maintaining some of its advantage, like obviously energy recovery, but most importantly, additional torque. And this additional torque will be provided at low speeds, and that's important for the 4x4, but also during strong acceleration. You have more figures and specs on the screen here, see if you want to take a look. And that's the 1.2 that we're going to have in the car. Second step, already known at Dacia, but full hybrid technology with the Hybrid 140. If you have to retain some of its components, let's say, 2 electric engines, 2 electric motors. First one being the high voltage starter and generator, which have 2 roles. The first one is starting the internal combustion engine. You are running 100% electric when you're starting, but then you need to have internal combustion power. This one is starting the internal combustion engine. But most importantly, I guess, it's also the engine that allows the gears to change smoothly. And I will explain what after that. Second electric engine is the high-powered e-motor, which more classically, let's say, drives the wheel and regenerates the battery. On the other hand, 1.6 liter naturally aspired engine, internal combustion engine, which have been optimized to fit with this hybrid powertrain with some treatments on the cylinder, for example. And at the middle of everything, you have the gearbox, which is clutchless. That's why we need the high voltage starter and generator to fit the speed of the gear perfectly and to change the gear and the driver don't have to think about it. And all of this is working like in synergy to provide what we are thinking strong customer benefits. Minus 20% full emission, CO2 emission, up to 40% fuel consumption savings, up to 80% of your time driving in the city in full electric. All your starts will be in full electric. So we have a full electric mode on this hybrid, but it's simple to use. You don't need to plug it, so it's not a plug-in hybrid, it's an hybrid. That will be the base for the automatic gearbox in all new Duster. That will be our two-pedal offer on the new Duster. But the engines are not the only way to reduce our carbon footprint, and we're going to pay attention to the plastic and recycled plastics, especially with the Starker. But first, a bit of context. The worldwide plastic production is increasing year after year, but only 14% of it is recycled. And when you recycle 1 ton of plastic, you avoid to emit 1 ton of CO2 emission, and you also save 1 ton, roughly, of oil. How do we want to contribute to this challenge at Dacia? First, the current Duster. 12% of its plastic comes from recycled material. We are thinking that's already good because the estimate of the European automotive market is about 8%. So Duster is in the average or above the average, let's say. But we can do more, and we will do more with all new Duster when we are targeting 20% of its plastic come from recycled plastics. And we also find a way to put recycled plastic, let's say higher rate of recycled plastic outside the car with the Starker. And that's a quick video showing what Starker is and how we presented during the presentation of the manifesto, Dacia manifesto last year. Just a 10-second video. But that's an exterior protective part, right? So first, it consumes less resources to be produced. We don't need to paint it. That's okay. There are some particles that are visible, but we assume it in terms of design, products, and we just keep it like that. So we don't paint it. That's okay. That metal statements, that's an innovation. We are pretty proud of it. But you have to match with the, let's say, highly demanding standards and requirements of the automotive for exterior plastic. So it has to be resistant in terms of impact, scratches, UV edging, also the change in temperatures, the large scale of temperatures that you can have on the exterior plastic. So Starker is totally compliant with the requirements of the automotive industry for exterior plastic. It has the same requirements than any other plastic outside in Dacia, for example, or on the previous Duster or on the Sandero. So it matches with the requirements, and that's important. And last but not least, that's easy to clean. That should be any exterior plastics.